around here. There's a bunch of crooks around here. You ain't supposed to be in that jail, boy. Get over there, man. No, that's supposed to know, man. If I come in.
Is my salary going up?
Bahamian people got to wake up.
This is my 5 cents and I approve this message.
Good evening, Bahamas. You're tuned into NB12 Weekend, broadcasting from Cable 12 Studios on Robinson Road. Coming up tonight in news, the F&M says the Public Disclosure Commission is a farce. Real estate sales jump. Regulators bringing down the hammer on illegal insurance practices, plus 12 Bahamians on their way to China for an experience of a lifetime. I'm Paige McCartney, and we've got those stories and more straight ahead on NB12 Weekend. Welcome once again to NB12. Prime Minister Perry Christie's charge that he will ensure all parliamentarians disclose their assets and liabilities is all a farce, according to Free National Movement Deputy Chairman Dr. Duane Sands. In fact, Sands says he believes the Public Disclosure Commission is simply there to appease Bahamians. Christie revealed last week that he received a letter from the Commission expressing concern over the number of parliamentarians who have not declared. However, he insisted he would cause those members to do so.
I think it's a joke, and it was intended to pacify the public and say, look, we have disclosed. There are some things that have been written in some of the disclosures year after year that have no explanation. And if we go as far back as the level of the Commission of Inquiry, when the question was asked as to how could you spend 10 times more than your annual salary, the response was unbelievable.
Opposition leader Dr. Hubert Minnis suggested that those members of Parliament who have not disclosed be arrested. However, his deputy, Loretta Butler-Turner, has admitted to having not disclosed.
I think it speaks to the fundamental problem of the Disclosure Act itself, and the acknowledgement, even though it's unspoken, that even though it is a law on the books, that it has no teeth whatsoever. And I think what has happened is that those individuals who ought to be following that law prioritize it based on the true significance. And so if you have a choice of things to do, it drops in level of priority. That doesn't make it right. It is the law on the books.
But Sands said enforcing the law to make parliamentarians disclose does not ensure that what is disclosed will be true.
Of the individuals who have disclosed, go back and look at that disclosure and compare it to reality. Go back from the time that the law was introduced, and then compare what was said on those pieces of paper to their actual assets, or the assets of them and their families.
The F&M deputy chairman also weighed in on recent revelations of prominent Bahamians dodging tax and bill payments. Sands said it's characteristic of the Progressive Liberal Party.
This is very typical, that what I do is I sing a good song and I pretend to be a supporter of the average Bahamian man or woman, but I use the Bahamian public to get where I want to go. And so we have now created the black elite, the Bahamian elite. And that is that the friends, family, and lovers of the Progressive Liberal Party are the ones that have special consideration under the law. And so that I get the contracts, I get the money, I get the jobs, okay? And everybody else, well, you know, dog eat your lunch.
In other news tonight, an uptick in real estate sales over the past few months could spell good news for the economy. President of the Bahamas Real Estate Association, Carlos Sweeting, says figures compiled by BREA show that between January and April 2014, there were 31 real estate transactions. only one of which was over $1 million. The total sales value for the time frame was just more than $4.2 million. However, between April and June, the total number of sales jumped to 76, with 11 transactions valuing more than $1 million. The total sale value skyrocketed to just under $40.2 million. Sweeting said a number of factors could have contributed to the spike, but it's likely that those buying and selling real estate wanted to beat the proposed implementation of value-added tax.
Some people may feel that they wanted to do something before the taxation changed a bit, because we're still uncertain as to how that will impact our industry. It also could mean that people are recognizing that maybe this is a good time to buy because they can get better deals, where people may be wanting to sell for financial reasons. They're willing to negotiate a little more, if you like. The unfortunate thing for some of our listings is that people would have bought at the height of the market, so they would have paid top dollar. And now people are looking for deals. And so it may be a little difficult for some people to negotiate as much as others, because they may have an outstanding mortgage, which means they have an obligation that they have to meet, whereas some people who don't have a mortgage will be a little more willing to adjust their prices.
However, she pointed out the number of sales for the first half of 2014 is still lower than last year's numbers. In 2013, there were 295 real estate transactions totaling $190 million. 36 of those transactions were million-dollar properties. Given these figures, Sweeting said it's currently a buyer's market.
Well, in seeing the numbers that we have here today, I have to be optimistic and encouraged that this trend will continue. You know, we always say that real estate is always going to be around because people always have to have some place to stay. Now, it just will depend on what can you qualify for, what can you afford. And, you know, some people are of the view that having an economic downturn or a recession, if you like, corrects the market, because when things are going well, the supply and demand kicks in. So when you've got a lot of a demand and very little inventory, prices will go up. And so having a lot of inventory tends to lead you to a buyer's market where people are going to be more willing because of the competition.
But the BREA president says they have high hopes for the second half of 2014.
Anywhere around the world, when one is looking at an economic forecast, one of the first things that they look at is the real estate market and the construction market. And so having these details really helps to pave the way of showing whether the economy is growing, is it stagnant.
Well, while there may have been an increase in real estate sales in 2013, according to figures released from the Department of Statistics National Accounts section, there was a nearly 24% decrease in construction activity last year. According to the department, there were 1,462 new construction permits issued last year, which is 23.7% fewer than the 1,916 issued in 2012. Figures show that there was also a decline in the value of permits issued over this period from $716 million in 2012 to $472 million last year. That's a drop of 34%. In 2013, the total number of new construction starts, which totaled 405, was 13% lower than that of 2012, which was 467. The total number of new construction completions for 2013 also showed a decrease of 100 units from that of the previous year, with 807 recorded in 2012 and 707 in 2013. Now, the Insurance Commission of the Bahamas is warning insurance companies to cut out illegal practices, as officials are now clamping down to ensure consumers and their rights are protected. In fact, officials say the crackdown has resulted in several licenses being revoked. Our Jasmine Brown has more.
Officials at the Insurance Commission say they are serious about cracking down on shoddy insurance practices. According to the Commission's latest annual report, there were more than 116 licensed insurance companies in the Bahamas in 2012, Of that number, 17 are foreign-owned. Legal officer Yolande Roll says amendments to the legislation have provided the Commission with what it needs to properly police the industry.
The law is dynamic, and we don't expect that going forward there will not be further amendments. And so as we move ahead, as we progress, we expect that there may be some changes. But it's not, an amendment is not something, at least to the Act, it's not something that you do very often, because you need to have some degree of stability.
According to Roll, penalties for insurance companies can range from $1,000 to $10,000 and up to 3 years in jail. She adds that there have been cases even this year where companies have had their licenses revoked.
We have in the past revoked licenses of persons in the industry, salespersons or companies, for breach for failure to turn over premiums or for not registering in the time that they should have. You would notice, or you may notice, that from time to time we issue public notices in the paper to advise the public of the action that has been taken. And basically to let you know that the Insurance Commission is supervising and monitoring and doing what it should to protect the interests of the policyholders, which is our primary mandate.
For years, the Commission has operated in the shadows, but now officials are looking to change all that. CLECO's collapse prompted a reform of the insurance industry and several amendments to the Insurance Act. The passage of those amendments resulted in the formation of the Insurance Commission of the Bahamas. According to Insurance Commission Superintendent Michelle Fields, the Commission's focus is protecting policyholders under the existing Act, increasing the capital and solvency requirements of insurance companies, expanding existing regulatory framework, and generally supervising the industry.
We do ongoing supervision of insurance companies and intermediaries, and so if matters emerge through the course of our on-site and off-site monitoring, we address those immediately. We have grown significantly over the past 5 years. I think we have probably 3 people who would have been with the original Office of the Registrar of Insurance Companies. And we are hoping to employ another analyst during the course of this year.
Reporting for NB12 Weekend, I'm Jasmine Brown.